what I am trying really, really hard to honor lately is the fact that I am human, which makes me inherently fallible. And I am so far from perfect. All of us are. But I don't need to chase perfection.
You don't mask up. You don't perform. You don't armor up. You don't people please and tell people what they want to hear. Like, you're you, which also means you need to practice some self-compassion because being you sometimes isn't received great because not everybody likes you. Guess what? You don't like everybody else.
It wasn't until around the time I turned 30 and I moved into a role that really was better aligned with my natural talents and my strengths. That's when things unlocked for me. It was like a light bulb went off that it's like, man, I spent all these years being so buttoned up and so inauthentic to who I truly am that it was like a weight lifted.
Welcome to Courage is Built Here, the podcast. I'm Justine Froelker, licensed professional counselor, author, speaker, and corporate trainer. Here, we bring my Courage is Built Here curriculum to life and community. Each week, I invite a guest to walk one of the 5 courageous pathways with me through authentic, sometimes tough, sometimes hilarious conversations. No performance, no polish, just real people practicing real courage with grit, grace, and a whole lot of love. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Today, we have Pathway 3, Be Fully You, how to show up authentically. It is the work of vulnerability because you don't get any courage without leaning into vulnerability. It is the work of showing up as all of who you are in all of the spaces because the world is in desperate freaking need of wholehearted, whole, authentic people. Even when they feel like they can't handle it, even when they don't agree with everything, which we never will, even when they are sure they like it, there is something inside of us that yearns for and needs and wants authenticity. It's where connection is born. It's how we get to know each other. It's how we remember our common humanity. You have to lean in and be all of who you are, flaws and all. Of course, it includes boundaries. Vulnerability always includes boundaries. And I want you to show up in every space as all of who you are. Some of those spaces you might need more boundaries than others because they're not safe enough for you. They're not brave enough for you. They don't get to speak into your life a ton. They don't get to see all of you. It's a boundaried you. That's totally okay. Still you though, still authentic. That authenticity of you not hiding parts of who you are, rather you might be boundaried around them. You don't mask up. You don't perform. You don't armor up. You don't people please and tell people what they want to hear. Like, you're you. Which also means you need to practice some self-compassion because being you sometimes isn't received great. Because not everybody likes you. Guess what? You don't like everybody else. Dang, if that is not a hard lesson that I'm still learning at 46 years old. So be fully you, how to show up authentically. And I love, 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 love today's conversation. My friend Ali Carson is with us. She is a talent and development with a little bit of HR certified coach and facilitator. So we do a lot of the same things. And I've met her through multiple different organizations that we're both part of. And she's just so sweet. And she's one of my friends that I love her so much. She's one of my extroverted friends. And she once said to me, she goes, Justine, if you want to go to like a networking thing, like I'll be your, like, I'm a yes. Like I'll go to that with you. Like, because I don't like those things. I am an introvert really. And so, she balances me off and out. And I really appreciate her friendship and getting to know her recently in my life. And so our conversation today about authenticity and who we think we're supposed to be or should be, it's good. So let's welcome Ali to the podcast. Welcome, Ali, to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited for this conversation. Seriously. All right. So start you off with the same question that we ask everybody based on their pathway.
Okay.
When you think about courage, most especially through that lens of pathway 3, be fully you, how to show up authentically, is there a story or a moment that rises up for you?
How about most of my 20s? That rises up for me. And actually, So it's funny. I was thinking about
Yeah.
this, what have been the experiences that I've had. And I remember getting feedback early in my 20s that being outgoing or bubbly was less professional. And I so desperately wanted to be seen as credible and professional. And
Yeah.
so I took that feedback like to the nth degree and I became really buttoned up and I was, intent on showing up seriously. I even dressed more, probably older than I would have otherwise
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
because I wanted to be seen as that credible, professional person so, so badly. And it wasn't until around the time I turned 30 and I moved into a role that really was better aligned with my natural talents and my strengths. And that's when things unlocked for me. That's when I was able to show up as myself. And what was
Yeah.
crazy is the more me I was, the more effective I was, the more
Oh my
successful I
gosh.
was, the better the impact that I was having. And it was like a light bulb went off that it's like, man, I spent all these years being so buttoned up and so inauthentic to who I truly am that it was like a weight lifted. Like I could show
Yeah.
up and be me, which was amazing.
Oh, that's so true. There is an element, I think, especially for a lot of women, but maybe it happens for men too. Like, man, my 20s.
20s are
I
hard.
right? Like I just and it's not I don't believe in time wasted, right? I believe it's training ground for what's to come. And
Yep.
at the same time, like I what I don't know. I'm like, was I not authentic because I was just so wrapped up in everything else, right? And
Mhm.
all the things. Or like, was I not authentic because I had no clue who I was?
Well, there's an element of that too, right? There's
Yeah.
this idea, and I think it ties along with the idea. I think E. E. Cummings said it, and the quote was, "It takes courage to grow up and be who you really are."
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think in the 20s it was like, okay, like this is who I want to be, this is how I want to be perceived, as opposed to this is who I am. Right? It was just a mentality
Ooh, yeah.
shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is that element. I mean, I still will sometimes feel that monster of like, you're not professional enough, like,
Hmm.
especially to be in this space or like with this organization or whatever else. And yet, like, you said it, like, you feel so much light, like, you flourish more when you're not trying to be someone that you're not.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be able to lean into your true giftings, your talents, your authenticity, and serve better when I'm not trying to, well, in some ways, I guess, fit in.
Yeah. And not trying to fit into this mold of the shoulds, right? This is how
Mhm.
you should look, or this is how you should
Yeah.
behave. And I'm sure for, I'm positive there was some imposter syndrome at play for me, especially in my 20s, of, man, I've got this job, I've got this big girl real job, and I'm supposed to be advising people on, HR and what to do with their people, and I'm coaching
Yeah.
others, and they're many, many years older than me. And so some of it was like this idea, like you're a kid playing in your mom's clothes and you're putting on her high heels and
Yeah.
running around. And it's like, oh, no, I'm pretending to be this. And it took a long time to
Oh,
settle in and
man.
get comfortable with, no, this is me. This is me doing my best and
Uh-huh.
bringing my best self.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got did you get most of those messages of, like, who you were supposed to be, how you're supposed to show up? Were they different messages from the world versus the workplace versus, like, childhood?
Mm.
Did they have a through line for you? Like, what did that look like?
So that's an interesting question. I distinctly remember my mom telling my sisters and I, like, remember whose daughter you are. And it was whose with a capital W,
Wow.
right? Remember whose daughter you are.
Wow.
And there was also an element of you're a Baldwin girl. And we,
Okay.
our family, we were pillars in the community. There were expectations around that.
Yeah.
At the time, I never took it in a negative way. I never took it
Okay.
um, as something that was like I was failing to meet this or anything like that. It was always almost like, here's the bar, like, and you're capable and
Ooh.
it's
Ooh, that's
possible
good.
to hit this. So it was always something that I took as a good thing. It wasn't until later on I realized, like, oh wow, that could have created a lot of pressure. Um,
Right.
if it did when I was younger, I didn't feel it. So that was kind of
Okay.
the message that I got growing up was very much
Yeah.
remember whose daughter you are, you're a Baldwin girl, and kind of the like, how we show up in the community. There were
Mhm.
expectations there. And then you get into college and you're figuring out who you really are and
Right.
and how you want to be. And um I definitely think some of the societal ideas of what a professional in the workplace looks like was a big deal. I remember um even something as silly as like since I've had the kids, my hair is naturally curly, which it wasn't ever
Yeah.
before. For many years, I took it as it's more professional to show up with straight hair, right? I would have my
Yeah.
headshots
Yep.
done with my hair straightened as
Yeah.
it is today, but
Yeah.
I was hesitant to
Mm.
really
Yeah.
show up with that, what I call my wild woman hair, which is its natural
Yeah.
state because I took it as being less professional. And I don't
Mhm.
know that there were conscious messages that I was aware of, but there were
Yeah.
definitely something I was picking up on, whether it was, the
Yeah.
examples I was seeing or whatever, that this is what being a professional woman, especially
Mhm.
in the workplace,
Mhm.
looks like. It's the
Yeah.
pantsuits, it's the, you know, very well coiffed, very, good makeup, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was what I was preparing to walk into.
Uh-huh. It's interesting, like, there is this element of the things that can hold us back from really being encouraged and showing up authentically are not only, like, maybe the stories that have been spoken over us,
Mhm.
right? Those pieces, the the outright expectations that are placed on us from different spaces. There's also, though, this piece of, like, how much do we infer
Yes. Oh,
and
yeah.
make you know what I mean? And make up like, no one actually ever said that.
Uh-huh.
Where'd you get that?
Yes. There's so many things that and as human nature, we are very good as humans at filling in the blanks, right? If
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
and especially if you're curious or you're striving for
Yeah.
something in particular, right? You're filling in what you think those things are, but we don't
Yeah.
to your point, we so often don't validate that. We don't confirm like, here's what I'm getting from this situation, but is this
Yeah.
actually the reality? We just kind of assume that it is and continue accordingly. And then years later we're like, "Oh wait, I didn't actually have to do that or I didn't have to show up that way.
Yeah.
I could have been more me." And
Mhm.
it was such a gift. And again, like I said, I was whenever I got to the point where I felt like I could show up as me and I could be my authentic self, I could be goofy, I could make silly jokes, I could distinctly remember when I was teaching in the classroom, I would make people get up and do shake breaks because I love to dance and I'm like, let's get up and do it. Let's be silly. I never would have done that in my early
Yeah.
20s. Never. No way.
That's so true. I do that, like, at the begin when I do full trainings, like the full 3-day training, we
Mhm.
start and end the day with just like a get present in your body, kind of this, like, collective thing, and at the end of day 2, because it's just the longest, hardest day,
Yes.
I make them get up and shake. I give them
Mhm.
3 options. I'm like, "You can heel drop, you can swing your arms back and forth, or you can shake." But, like, what I ask of you is that you're not gonna make me do this up here by myself,
Yes.
right?
Come be goofy with
And
me.
you're
It's a great it's the water's
I
fine.
know, it is like this awesome human
Mhm.
experiment though, like watching who just goes all in.
Yeah.
And the ones like, "No, I'm not," and it's like, "No one's looking at you.
Yes.
You're looking at everybody else because you're not like because you're not actually receiving this gift. The people who are receiving it, they don't care what you're doing."
Yes. And that's just it's that vulnerability, right? That willingness to be
Yep.
vulnerable, to open ourselves up to, oh, someone might think
Yeah.
you're being silly or someone might think
Yeah.
whatever. And the beauty of getting older is I kind of don't care as much anymore. Not that I don't care what people think. I don't own the
I
weight
agree.
of their
Yeah.
expectations in the same way that I used to.
Right. Like we don't hold I don't hold them as close to my heart
Yep.
anymore. I am fine, like, I am and I've been wrestling this week, like, I it's like, "Really?" Like, I still am dealing with this, like, spirit of rejection or this fear of man like, that's still here? Like, this, like,
Mhm.
new piece will pop up, right? And
Why?
it's like, what is that? And how like, but it is this piece of, like, I've often taught for a long time, like, I do wanna care. I care what people think because I wanna connect.
Mhm.
I cannot I can no longer be defined by what they think of me because then I cannot be authentic.
Mhm.
And yet at the same time, like, is the line really fine between those 2 things? Is it just, like, with age and also I think just how hard the world is sometimes
Yeah.
and social media, I these pieces are coming in, it's like, "Oh, maybe you still got some work there." And it's like,
Mhm.
"Dang."
Yeah. It can be exhausting, right? The comparison trap is what one of the things that I run into.
Yeah,
And I
that's about it is.
it's it's a women thing, right? A lot of the work that I do with
Yeah.
the women that I work with is helping them figure out where are you getting in your own way? Where are the limiting beliefs that are holding you back? And it's amazing every time I teach some of these classes, I'm finding new ones in myself. Like I'm like, oh,
Oh,
same like you said,
right.
like I thought I
The
addressed
work's
that. I
never
thought I'd
done.
worked through that, but wow, it just came right up and kind of snuck up on me. Like I'm
Yeah.
subscribing to this belief that I don't actually believe in. And it's amazing when I encourage people to get curious about whose voice is that in the back of your head that's saying this is how it's supposed to be? Where did that come
Mhm,
from?
mhm.
And the amount of people who are unable to name it is wild, right? They're just like, wow, I've been carrying this for however many years, my whole life sometimes,
Yep,
but it's
yep.
not my belief. It's not something that I subscribe to. So why am I carrying
Mhm.
this? Why am I living this
Yeah.
way?
It is interesting, like, I just listened to a podcast where he was talking about comparison either side, especially when you're an entrepreneur or a
Mhm.
business leader, like, comparison on either side will lead you to condemnation. Like,
Mhm.
it is not part of who you are called to be. It will not serve you well. It will not serve your clients well. Whether or not you are comparing where you're not doing enough or not good enough, or like you're doing a heck of a lot better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't lead us to wholehearted, fruitful business.
Mhm.
And it's not, and and then he was like, "And it's not fun." And I was like,
No, not at all.
"It is not fun. Why does my brain keep doing it?" Like,
Yes. Yeah, the whole saying that comparison is the thief of joy is
right.
so true, right? Like,
It is.
and we waste so much time comparing ourselves to other and we're never comparing apples to apples. You know, we're
No.
comparing I find myself doing it all the time as an entrepreneur, right? I'm almost 2
Yeah.
years in business and I'm comparing
Yeah.
my 2-year mark to somebody else's 15th year mark. And that's there's not a fair comparison there
I
and
know.
yet
Yeah.
I'm doing it to
I know.
myself.
Right. I know. I literally just did that with like another facilitator, and like his revenue was way higher than mine. And I was
Mhm.
like, and then I had to remind myself of like, his dad started this business. It's 20 years old. Like,
Mhm.
hello. Like, okay, it's not, and you're in completely different spaces on
Yes.
top of that. Like
Yes.
completely different spaces.
Yeah.
And I refuse to believe that there's not enough to go around. Oh my word. There's plenty to go around.
There is so much work. There is a lot
Like
of need for
there is.
everything that
And
we
it's
do.
just like, but dang that, like, I do you I do you think sometimes comparison can be this, we know it's a sabotaging, like, trap
Yep.
a lot,
Mhm.
but all is there a part of it that's also this, like, comfort blanket? Like, almost we use it as this, like, coping skill
Mhm.
to move through things. I don't know, like, does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think it's sometimes it's an excuse, right? Like
Oh,
I'm comparing myself to them and because I'm not living up to this mark, that
yes.
this arbitrary place that I'm setting, then well, no wonder I'm not seeing X, Y, and Z. Right? No wonder
Mm,
these results aren't coming because
yeah,
I'm not at the same place or whatever. And it's so bogus because
yeah,
again, you're comparing different people in
yep,
different points in their races and
mhm,
it's not a fair comparison. It's one
yeah,
of those things. There's so many places like this where women in particular are playing small and
mm,
just getting in their own way. Again,
yeah,
not intentionally. None of us are trying to do it to ourselves.
yeah,
Um,
right,
but I talk to my clients a lot about like, are you shoulding all over yourself?
right,
Right?
yep,
Which we do all the time, right?
all the
I
time.
should be doing more of this. And that's where I fall into the comparison issue so strongly is part of it's my personality. Like I was looking when I started my business for the right way to do this, which fun fact, there is no one right way to do this.
Right.
And even though logically I know that, right? I'm coaching other
Yeah,
people on this. I still will say, well, I should be doing X.
I
I
know,
should be doing Y. I should have my own podcast. I should have
yeah,
a book. I should
yeah,
have all these things. And it's like, why?
why?
Who says? And
Uh-huh.
and so some of the courage comes in with asking yourself those questions of,
Mhm.
says who? Why do I think that I should be doing
Yeah.
that? And where's that voice
Yeah.
coming from?
That's so true. That's
Mhm.
so good. When you think about, like, especially when you stopped, like, when you reclaimed that part of, like, "No, I can be bubbly and I can be all of who I am," especially
Mhm.
in the workplace. Did that How did that show up at home for you, or, like, in your personal relationships, your
Ooh.
friendships, your closest relation? Did that also show up there?
That's a really good question. I would say it probably did. Um, and I think because there was no more of this putting on the hat, like when I went to work and taking it off when I came home, right? It was, I am who
Mhm.
I am in all the spaces. And so I I think it probably did show up differently in terms of how I was
Uh-huh.
with people. I think because I wasn't carrying that extra weight when I was at work, I think it also allowed me more freedom and just to be even more authentically who I was outside of that. I'll never forget. I remember somebody telling me that I was really intimidating the first time they met me, and I was like, "Little old me, like who could possibly be intimidated by me?" And what I realized later is they met me in my most buttoned up, I'm the serious, I know
Oh,
HR
wow.
person. They met me
Yeah.
in that space. And so it wasn't until they got to know me and I was better, like, as I developed relationships about being more
Sure.
authentic kind of when I was behind the scenes and offline conversations.
Mhm, mhm.
But that's when those kind of things came out where it was like, man, you were just
Yeah.
so intimidating when I first met you. And I was like, how? How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Which hurts my heart a little bit because
Yeah.
that's not authentic to who I am, right? That's
Right.
not
That's what I
what
was
I'm
just
trying to be.
thinking, like, that has to be on some level, that can get exhausting,
Yes.
right? Like,
Absolutely
you're,
exhausting.
like, not because 'cause you're not 2 different people,
No.
like, the offline conversation, right? Like, and yet, like, we how many of us feel like we have to be, or 5 different people based on the
Mhm.
space that we're in, right? Like, it's so exhausting, and you have to keep track of all of it, and
Yes. It's exhausting and it's hard. And I think to your question about, like, how it's changed me showing how I show up at home,
yeah.
I like to think, you can ask my kids to verify this.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
think because I had that realization later and I don't want my kids to have that experience, I have tried to
Mm,
encourage both of them to be their weird, right? Like, find your people, love them
absolutely.
hard,
Yeah,
find your tribe, like be who you
yeah,
want to be, which is so difficult. They are now, let's see,
right.
16 and 19. And so,
And they're
you
in the trenches, man,
they're
of
right in the middle of it.
development, right? Like, yeah.
And it's so hard. And so I think I hopefully created an environment with my husband where it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to have all your feels. It's okay to be authentically you. Yeah, there's sometimes where, there's decorum or things like that that, you should show up a certain way and
Right, right.
be who you are. Like,
Yeah,
don't play yourself down for a certain friend group or because you
mhm,
want to fit in or things like that. So I'm hoping that
good.
some of, what I learned I was able to carry
Yeah,
over into them that way.
that's so good. That's so good. It is. Constantly, I feel like I'm always teaching that difference between fitting in and belonging. Like,
Yes.
if you are trying to fit in, you are most likely abandoning parts of who you are,
Mhm.
changing them to look like or be like where you're trying to fit in,
Yep.
right? You just belong
Yeah.
because we're humans. Like, you belong.
Yeah.
Like, eh, and da- but dang if we don't still have to always remind ourselves of that. And I
Mhm.
know for me, because that can bring up, like, just like family of origin stuff, like, especially
Mhm.
extended family. Like, you never fit in there. Like, what makes you think you're gonna fit in anywhere else? Like,
Mhm.
they were the people that, right? And it's like, that doesn't mean that they don't love you and all that stuff, but, like, there is such a significant difference between
Mhm.
that fitting in and belonging. However, depending on the almost the area that you're in or the season that you're in or how old you are, they feel like one and the same.
Oh, absolutely.
And it can greatly impact how you know yourself and
Mhm.
show up.
Yeah. Because we're animals that want to belong. It's how we're wired,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
seeking that out. And so there's always I mean, I can remember when my kids were young and your friend groups come from whatever activities your kids are involved in because that's where you
Uh-huh.
spend all your time.
Yeah.
So you have the new mom group that you're in and it's like, "Oh, am I going to fit in here? Am I going to find my people or no?"
Yeah.
And what has been cool to see is over the years, there's been groups that have come and go. There's been a few groups and a few people that have been kind of the steady eddies throughout everything.
Oh, good.
Um, that, but it's like what I tell my kids. It's find your people, find who are your people, and not everybody's going to be your people, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. So good. You ready for your last 2 questions?
absolutely.
Okay. So the one that everyone gets, when did courage look different than you expected? And what did it teach you?
Oh, I have so many examples of this. I think I think that what comes to mind most strongly for this is that I when I made that transition of being moving into being authentically me and showing up as authentically me all the time,
Mhm.
I didn't realize at the time that that was an act of courage. And but it truly took a while for me to kind of look back, hindsight's 2020, so I can look back now and say, yeah, that was a courageous moment for me because there was a risk there, right? There's always a risk when it comes with courage and when it comes to
Yeah.
courage. And in that moment, that's when I learned not only do I need to do this for myself, but how can I set the example for others? Because
Mm.
I worked with so many leaders, so many women, especially, so many people who were struggling and trying to fit in and trying to figure out where do they show up. And so it was really cool to say, okay, these are the lessons that I've learned. I'm teaching people things anyway. What can I also teach them about being
Right.
their authentic selves and living into their strengths and letting their strengths shine through and really owning
Yeah.
who they are? And that's been such a cool way that my
Mhm.
career shifted, and it's become, the
Yeah.
focus of the work that I do now, which has been phenomenal.
Yeah. It's like that piece of like, no, like we need like you. We
Yes.
need you to be you.
Hmm.
That's why you're here on this team. That's why you're in this group, right? Like it's
Yeah.
and dang, so many people hold themselves back from it.
They do all over. And I had direct reports. I had such an amazing team in my last one of my corporate jobs.
Uh-huh.
And I remember having conversations with one of my direct reports in particular who was trying to be successful the alleyway. And it's like, you know what? This isn't a roadmap, right? This isn't a how to do things, but it's like you're gonna figure out how to do it in your way, and that's whenever the magic's gonna happen. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what she saw. Once she got comfortable enough with the
Yeah.
work and figured out how to make it her own, she
Uh-huh.
absolutely flourished, and it was awesome to see.
So true. That's
Mhm.
so true. So good. All right, your last question,
Yes.
your surprise question. What is one part of yourself that you are honoring lately?
Ooh. I think what I am honoring lately is oh wow. Hold please. This is a harder question than I was expecting. We don't think about ourselves as often, right?
I
Um,
know.
I think what I am trying really, really hard to honor lately is the fact that I am human, which makes me inherently fallible. And I am so far from perfect. All of us are. But I don't need to chase perfection. And I don't need to, I can chart my own course. I can decide what this path is going to look like for me. And that is equal parts terrifying and very exhilarating. But
Yeah.
leaning into that and trying to honor that I'm going to use my God given talents to the best that I can. I'm going to follow the purpose that I truly believe I am living into that He set out for me. And as long as I can continue to honor that, then I think I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Oh, people really need to hear that and hold on to it. It's so good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Where can people connect with you if they want to connect with you?
People can find me on LinkedIn or through my webpage, either one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll link all of it in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
for
for this
your,
opportunity.
I love it. I love it. I love you. And so I'm so thankful for you. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Whether you're brand new to this work or living it out loud every day, I hope today was helpful, hopeful, and a reminder that you're not alone. What one bit of courage will you take from this episode, and how will you walk it out? If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and please make sure you like and subscribe. New episodes come out every Wednesday on your favorite podcast platform and Fridays on YouTube. For more resources, head to JustineFroelker.com and click to my store. Because courage isn't a one-time thing, it's built right here, one small choice at a time, and especially between us.